the dying embers of human existence, as the asteroid, a behemoth the size of Texas, hurtles relentlessly toward Earth, the world braces for an apocalyptic end. Deep beneath the bunker, a refuge plunges into the bowels of the Earth. Here the chosen gather, their purpose clear, to preserve the very soul of our civilization. The 35 and 70 millimeter prints that encapsulate the magic, the emotion, and the dreams of generations past. These masterpieces, each frame a testament to the human spirit, are carefully cataloged and cradled in the cavernous confines of the bunker. Perhaps there was room for more, for friends and family yearning for salvation, but sacrifices must be made. The movie nerds stand united, the keepers of a flame, promising a future where the art of storytelling endures, transcending the boundaries of time and space. God help us all.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Join us as we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms, deliberating on whether each one is worthy of salvation or destined for destruction in the face of the impending asteroid apocalypse. You can find more episodes of this podcast on backtotheframerate.com, where you can subscribe and share our show and find us on our socials with the handle Back to the Frame Rate. I am Nathan Shore, and accompanying me are the extraordinary movie mavens Brianna Butterworth and Sam Cole.
Hello.
Hello. I must say it's somewhat of a pleasure to be here. By the way, Nathan, because you're really good, you have a lot of sound effects and stuff. Do you by any chance have the audio of like a plane nosediving? Because I am, of course, referring to Joker's Folie à Deux second weekend, 80% drop.
No buen.
Nearly 82% drop.
I feel bad being mean, but yes.
You know what? You've inspired me to add it into post.
Yeah.
Did anyone see it though?
Yes, I did.
I did. Yes.
I feel a bit shallow, but I was interested in seeing it, but the buzz was so negative, it actually turned me off, and I was like, I'll wait till.
Well, then you're part of the problem, Sam.
I'm part of the problem. I'm the average. I'm the average moviegoer. I was like, well, I can just play a video game at my house, so I'll do that instead.
Yeah.
It
wasn't good.
I did go out there. No, it was not good, but I didn't hate it. But the problem, I'll just say quickly, is that it is a 2 hour and 18-minute movie with 15 minutes of plot. But, it's the ultimate FU to
the first movie. Yeah.
But you know what? I have respect for this movie still, though. Even though I didn't like it, the fact, again, I feel like I'm reiterating everything I said about Megalopolis. I didn't enjoy this movie as nearly as much because I found it, and this is never a term I use for a movie because I think it's lazy. I found this movie very boring, and that's a problem. But the fact that Todd Phillips made this clearly with the intent that nobody is going to like this movie, I applaud him because I think was the intent all along. And Joaquin Phoenix wanted this to be a musical as well. I think he said, and I might be misquoting the whole situation, but he did not want to do this unless it was on his terms. And I think it being a musical was a big reason that he came back for this, because he wanted to do something just completely bonkers.
And being a musical doesn't bother me. I do wish the musical aspect were better. I wish it leaned into it more. Instead, we get a lot of whiny, half-heartedly sing-spoken songs, which is disappointing.
I heard it was half-assed, like it dipped into musical realm.
Yeah, it was just kind of that like very realist approach. When you have the Joker and Harley Quinn, I think we wanted more fantasy, and there's a little bit of that, but the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I liked that Todd Phillips was like, no, you guys don't get it. The Joker is a bad guy.
Yes.
He's kind of a loser. I do think he hit you over the head with it, but I'm coming in. I didn't like the first one either. So yeah.
So
yeah.
I liked the first Joker. I wasn't absolutely gaga. Oh my God, I can't use that. But I wasn't like absolutely crazy over the first film. I thought it was a decent movie. Mm-hmm. But this was just poor execution more than anything. So I was disappointed, and I knew that this movie, I don't think this movie deserves a D cinema score. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's kind of an interesting movie that exists and it's done this way, but I just wish that it could have been better if they wanted it to be a better movie.
I'm glad that at least he portrays the Joker as bad, or he's not pro Joker, because when I saw it in the first one in the theater and he shot Robert De Niro, like the talk show host, the audience cheered at that moment. And I was like, I'm not so I feel uncomfortable that you guys are liking this moment so much. Like, I was like, I want to get out of this. This audience is like kind of tooled up. And I'm like, I want to go back to my car and get away before a riot starts. I was kind of nervous.
I think that, and that's how I
came out. This came out during, Trump era America.
Yeah.
So this was definitely
this is the dangerous incel white man, right? I think the idea for me that would have been a more interesting movie would have been the Joker becoming a cult of personality that inspires the Joker that we know in the DC comic universe. Well, but
did it though? I don't want to spoil it.
I won't spoil it, but I read the end. Like, I know what happens, and I was like, damn it.
Well, I don't think it's not that obvious, but I think that the end of this movie is trying to imply that this may inspire like the Heath Ledger Joker at the end of this.
But I think it just left it so it's ambiguous. It didn't and I think it left it open for that in case they want to do something later, but it didn't seem to have any real feelings as to whether or not they were going to want to do that.
But really cool one-er shot at the end of the movie though. I loved.
The big story is that the Terrifier 3, another clown movie, is like is the successful clown, which I want to see. I haven't seen the first one, but I saw a little Instagram clip for it, and it looked scary. And I was like, I already know I'm gonna like that movie, and I haven't seen it. It's weird to say that, but I know I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, I gotta see it. I thought at least Megalopolis was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we've got pretty packed show tonight. Let me just go over a little bit what we're going to be doing. We are going to be, we haven't talked about it yet, but we watched and we're going to be discussing the 1987 Alan Parker film Angel Heart, which is part of our Gothic Horror retrospective. Mm-hmm. What's really kind of funny is I saw that. I think I'm the only one that has seen this movie before. And I picked this movie as part of this Gothic Horror retrospective. However, is this really Gothic horror? Because I joked on our message thread, this would have been so perfect for last year's 80s neo-noir.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this movie is.
Not to go all Wikipedia on you, but Wikipedia calls it a neo-noir film, and it's hard to disagree with that. With darkness, Gothic darkness. Blah, blah.
It does.
It's like Southern Gothic,
Still, I'm glad we watched this, but I was like, I remember this being so much more sinister and so much more like, I mean, maybe I watched this at midnight and I was like really nervous. I was like really scared watching this. I don't know. It was a long time ago. It was in my early 20s. Maybe I was a different person then. I don't know. A couple other things. We have a big announcement to make. This is really exciting. If you have been following us on social media or receive our newsletter, you may already know about this, but this is pretty big news. So if you look at our little episode thing, you're seeing this is episode 87. We are 13 episodes away from our 100th episode. Woo! Woo! Come on, Sam. You're good at the woohoo's. Woo! The king of woos, and you bomb it. All right.
No, well, I did get the minor. What's his name? John Malkovich in the Line of Fire. Woo! Woo!
So what we're doing is, because you only turn 100 once, we have a special event that we're doing. We're calling it the Back to the Frame Rate 100th Episode Spectacular.
Woo!
we are taking our podcast to a live audience. And we're going to be doing this by discussing one of the great sci-fi comedy classics. Sam, what movie are we watching? This is something you've wanted for us to review for ages now, but what are we going to be screening for a live audience?
My beating heart is aflutter with joy. We will be reviewing the beloved 1999 sci-fi comedy Galaxy Quest with its wondrous cast, just to name a few: Alan Rickman, Sigourney Weaver, Tim Allen, and many, many, many more. I am very, very excited about this movie.
It's iconic.
And Sam Rockwell, and there's so many, I can't even, it makes me cry. Yeah.
So
if you can't see this, I'm weeping with joy right now. Yeah.
So this event is a live screening of this movie, and it's also going to be a live recording of our podcast. So how does this work? This is happening on January 10th, 2025. So this is like a little under 3 months from now at the Weston Art and Innovation Center. It's at 356 Boston Post Road, Weston, Mass. Don't worry. There will be links in the show notes. There's a lot of marketing on our social media, our newsletter. This will not be the last time you hear about this. Space is limited, though. We can only fit about 49 people in the space. So this is going to be a very small, intimate venue. But I think that's great for this. This is the first time we've done anything like this. Maybe next time we'll sell out Wembley. Who knows? But for this particular one, we're going to be screening the movie. It's about a 98-minute movie, probably 92 minutes, before the credits. And immediately after that, we are going to begin our podcast where the three of us are going to talk about this film. We have a special guest who also just today confirmed that he is 100% joining us. And he's been on the show before. Dan Martin, he is an actor and stand-up comic. He was on our show way back on the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 episode.
Oh, yeah.
A long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And extremely funny guy. And I think he's going to be a great guest for this episode. And I think we have a couple other surprises that I am working on. So this will be a lot of fun. But the most important thing in this whole thing is that we want you, the audience, to be part of this recording. So we're asking you, as you watch this movie with us, and we're talking about this, we don't want the three of us to be up in front of the stage just like, hey, what'd you think of this? What'd you think of that? We are really, really asking the audience to come out and be chatty with us, talk to us, ask us questions, give your thoughts on the film. That way, you guys can be part of this 100th episode. So this will be canonized forever. In carbonite, we're calling it. So I cannot be more excited for this event. This is a free event as well, but there will be free snacks and water provided. So, there you go. I couldn't be more excited for this. Check the show notes and our website, backtotheframerate.com. There'll be more information about it and our socials. All right. I've talked a lot about that. Yeah.
The question is not why you should attend. It's why not? Why not? Do you want your 2025 to start excellently? Because I think you should come, and I'll leave it at that. And I love myself, and I love the sound of my voice, but I want to hear your voice as well. And
you get this,
everyone matters, and I love you all, and whoopity-doo.
Yeah. And if you just, you only listen to us and you want to see us, our mouths move as well, this is your chance.
We are very, very attractive people in real life. Let me tell you.
We are.
And humble.
And we smell good.
We do, yes. The body wash that I use is, I think it's called Icarus. So, but it's minus, because he flew too close to the sun. So minus the burning smell. But yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
And you can delete that part.
Oh, that's staying in. I'm going to pull up the plot synopsis right now and read that. And then we're going to get right into a bit of the trailer from Angel Heart. In 1955, Harry Angel is hired by a mysterious man to find Johnny Favorite, a popular singer who disappeared after World War II. Angel's investigation takes him from New York City to New Orleans, where he discovers that Favorite was involved in the black arts and the murders he's investigating are connected.
Do you know what today is? Today is Wednesday. It's anything can happen day.
My interest in Johnny is only in finding out if he's alive or if he's dead.
You want me to check it out?
Check it out.
Who are you? I'm just the guy who was paid to snoop around. I'm gonna ask you again. Where is he? I don't know.
Harry Angel has been hired to solve more than a mystery.
He's dead, Mr. Angel. And if he isn't, he is to me.
Are you afraid?
Yeah, I'm afraid.
To find more than a killer.
All right, we got a lot to talk about with this film tonight. So the one thing I just do want to mention here, because I love to give a little context to this movie, and we're going to talk about a lot of the trivia and the facts about this as we discuss this. But you know what? I want to just mention just three little minor things here. The budget for this I saw here was like 18 million, basically 50 million today. If this was this came out today, made 17.2 million. Came out on March 6, 1987. Box office the week of this release. Number one movie in the box office. I'm going to do the
Lethal
top
Weapon.
Here. Lethal Weapon. 6.8 million. Number two at the box office was A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Dream Warriors made 6.7 million. Almost tied. This is the top three were really close together. Was Platoon, 6.1 million in its 12th week. Ironically, Mickey Rourke turned down a role in Platoon to be in this movie.
Interesting.
I was reading. Angel Heart, this movie that we're reviewing, debuted at number 4, 3.7 million in its opening week. And finally, at number 5, Outrageous Fortune in its 6th week of release made 3.3 million. That is the top 5. So, Angel Heart. You guys had not seen this before. I want to hear about what we think of this, but this was not what I remembered. So, how do we begin this? So we're not going to be doing our reviews up top. We're going to get right into the plot here. So we haven't done this before like this. This, like I said, not the horror movie that I thought this was, but great atmosphere during this.
Not a horror.
Yeah,
It's a little supernatural occulty. I think it can blur those lines.
Well, what I'm going to ask you guys a question here. So were either of you onto the plot of this movie from the get-go? Who Johnny Favorite was, who Harry Angel was?
I hear that. I mean, even though because I only literally watched it once for the first time last night, even though I was not exactly aware what the exact plot reveal would be, Louis Cypher was like pretty screamingly loud. But I was aware that I could feel a reveal coming really early on with his flashbacks and his memory things, and then when he goes and he visits the doctor who has the morphine, the drugs in his refrigerator, the whole way that played out, I knew that clearly something I could feel the big reveal coming, because it was it wasn't too overt that it was like that I could predict it perfectly, but there was clearly something going. I mean, just the way Robert De Niro was looking at him, it's like he knows something he doesn't. I could sense an oncoming storm.
I think there's no way to predict it perfectly, because the ending of this movie is clinically insane and doesn't actually decide what the plot is and just throws like 10 at you and then says, all right, that's all, folks. Good night. So I think to say that it perfectly foreshadows a twist, whether it's interesting or not, sort of discredits just how batshit the end of the movie is. But leading up to it, you have this kind of cool, hard-boiled detective gumshoe, and he goes on this big adventure down south. But yeah, the ending, who could predict all 10 of those endings?
Yeah, there was a lot. And I definitely could predict hardly any of it. I just felt structurally, I could feel that it was leading to this big, I sensed a reveal coming. Like if the movie is like a water slide and the reveal is a big pool, it's like, I knew we were just going to crash into this water at the end, like it was coming. There was a feeling of inevitability to it.
Do you think there is any kind of, I found this kind of interesting. The beginning of this movie, Harry's original meeting with Louis Cypher. By the way, I love the atmosphere of every single set piece in this movie. Louis Cypher apparently has an office over
above a corrupt Baptist church. I think Parker's choosing really strong and interesting imagery here. I don't think it will always hold up to a modern audience with modern sensibilities. I think some of this, frankly, has not aged well. And I don't think this movie's above interrogating that. But I do think the atmosphere of it is its most redeeming quality. And when I was watching this movie, I was having such a great time, but I did keep thinking, I don't know if it's good, but I'm having a lot of fun. But I don't know if it's good, but I'm really having a good time.
I hear that. I would say talking about the things that have held up well, not necessarily all like the quote unquote visual effect moments, but the production design.
Yeah.
I actually believe that this movie, it actually felt like it was the 1950s. Like they sold that on me. I didn't feel like I was watching actors that had a couple of rented cars that blocked off a street. It felt like the 50s for real. And that technical, the technical aspect of it was probably my favorite thing about it.
I totally agree, Sam. I think the sets in this are just dripping with that like occultish, sort of sleazy noir. I got so sucked into the vibe of this movie.
Ellen Parker did another amazing film right after this, which is in this Southern Gothic. It's not the same Gothic, but Mississippi Burning.
Mississippi Burning. That's a tough watch. Yeah,
it is a tough watch, but I think it's a very good.
I like his filmography. I liked Fame. I like, there's a lot of his movies that I like. Can we talk about the casting in this? So we're introduced to Harry Angel. No foreshadowing there. And Louis
ever been cooler than in this movie? I've seen a good amount of Mickey Rourke.
What happened to Mickey Rourke between 1987 and right now?
Well, I think around 2000 or 2001. Remember, he had a boxing career. So he really messed up his face doing that.
He did.
But around 2001, 2002, he got some plastic surgery that really got botched. Yeah. That's a part of it. Because if you see him in the late 90s, he's still looking relatively normal. He got a little bit older. But when he comes back in around 2003, 2004, and it's around that time where it's like, this is something happened.
This is peak Mickey Rourke. And I watched an interview where Parker wanted Jack Nicholson for the role. And I'm so glad that we have Mickey Rourke instead. I don't know how you guys feel.
I know, I agree with that, because I think Jack Nicholson might have been too creepy or something like like you talk about revealing it too early. I think he might. I felt
might be too in on it.
Yeah, exactly. I felt Mickey Rourke was more like he played his like I'm a guy and like what's up with this and I'm smoking my cigarette and like I liked his. I thought his acting was very natural.
If you go back further, this is based on a book, Fallen Angel by William. I'm not going to say his name right. Hortzberg. It came out in 1978, but this was quickly optioned by Robert Evans at Paramount, and they quickly wanted to have. I think at one time Dustin Hoffman was connected to play Harry Angel, and it didn't happen. But it went through a few. For John Frankenheimer was behind directing this at one time. It went through a couple different. But once Ellen Parker was involved, Robert De Niro, I was reading, was his first choice to play the Harry Angel character. But Robert De Niro
wanted to be the devil.
Wanted to play the cameo in this.
I can just hear that conversation. Like I can see him wanting to do that. Like I totally get it. Like I mean, because who would not have fun playing the devil in a like of course he wanted to do that role. You know,
what a year for Robert De Niro playing the devil in Al Capone in the same year.
Oh yeah, he's having a blast. He was like so 3 years out from Goodfellas, was creeping up in a few more years. You know, like.
Yeah, that initial meeting between the two, or not the initial meeting, when they're in the diner and there's the hard-boiled egg scene. Oof. I am having such a good time watching Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro try to out New York each other. It is such a good time for me. And what is such a creepy scene.
What's that quote that, I mean, I wrote, I wish I actually.
Oh, the one with the snail leaves the sludge or something?
No, well, there's not, I'm going to actually insert it into the podcast here, but about the egg. And he says, some religions think the egg is a symbol of the soul. And I love that. And then he eats the egg.
He devours it.
And basically eating a soul, which is like, again, hitting us over the head with who he is.
Yeah, this movie's not subtle.
If you haven't figured out who Lewis is at this point, you're hopeless.
I love the detail of his nails getting longer every time we see him. That's just cool. You know, it's really fun. I also read that they wanted Brando as the devil for a while, but then
1986 Brando.
Oh man,
I read that too. Yeah. But what is Brando doing in the mid 80s?
I don't know, but I feel like he would almost like chew scenery a little bit, and maybe not in the best way at that point.
Mm-hmm. I could see it. I don't know. It would have been interesting. It would have been a different movie, that's for sure. But yeah, from the very first meeting, and it's really fun to see this occulty noir movie that gets out of New York and that goes down south. I don't think we see too many of our detectives actually hit the road.
That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. Yeah.
So,
I did too.
I didn't mean to drop out for a second, but Marlon Brando did not act in a movie after he did The Formula in 1980 and didn't come back until 1989 with a movie called The Dry White Season. He was gone through the 80s.
Yeah. Well, he was preparing, eating a lot and preparing for The Island with Dr. Moreau, you know.
That was quite some time later. That was 96. He did The Freshman in 1990. Actually, a really good movie.
Yeah, he was good. That was actually movie was great. Yeah.
That was, I
haven't seen The Freshman in forever.
Yeah. But I can't imagine him doing anything in the 80s because he didn't. The other
he was charging his phone. So
yeah, the other actor we haven't talked about, I think we have to, Mrs. Lenny Kravitz.
Lisa Bonet, yes.
Bonet, who at the time was a pretty big star on the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
This caused some controversy.
It did. I don't love the way the movie handled some of the stuff with Lisa Bonet. By all accounts, she had a great time filming it. So that's awesome. And, no issues there. Some of this movie just doesn't hold up when it gets to Louisiana and it starts talking about voodoo. I mean, it can get pretty racist and it get like, oh, all the evil is from this community. It's not. And it feels so violent on the surface. And I don't think the movie sticks the landing enough to really earn that. But
it even feels, I would even say it feels a little hokey. You know what I mean? Like where it's kind of like it's like showy when they're doing the thing
voyeuristic.
With yeah.
I don't know if it was racist because it feels like it's pretty. I mean, there's people of all races that are involved in this voodoo cult, and
I guess it's also the 50s too. I mean, they're trying to.
It is the 50s.
It's a fine line.
I actually like that this movie does not shy away from the racism. This is like Jim Crow era or Deep South, and it is putting it right in our face.
That's true.
And it's yeah. So,
how do we feel about the reveal that Lisa Bonet's the daughter?
We've gone old boy. That's what I was thinking.
I know. I was like, I got to make a list that's like, oops, I fucked my daughter. That's me.
A letterbox list? Yeah.
Yeah.
How long is that?
Oops.
That's the best movie title ever, by the way.
Oops. Didn't mean to. Yeah.
But, the devil.
Yeah, devil made me do it. Devil made me do it. Yeah. That's a jarring, graphically violent scene. That is crazy. That is crazy.
It is one of the most intense, and it's like it's not just a sex scene.
Yeah.
It is something else, and I'm really wrestling with like how I feel about it. I mean, so I mean, there's so much tension in that. I mean, there's like the wallpapers peeling.
Oh my gosh.
The ceilings is dripping, the blood, the bowl.
Yeah.
But it also incorporates all the imagery of things that we've seen earlier in the movie.
I think it goes on for too long. Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think it goes on for too long. I think we start seeing Lisa Bonet having a violent reaction to Harry Angel being on top of her that doesn't seem like she really enjoyed it. And
he was murdering her.
Yeah, well, we know that now.
Yeah.
But
I was just really uncomfortable. I mean, it was well done, but I kind of like I was like, oh God.
Well, this is the reason why this movie originally got an X rating.
Right.
And the MPAA had to say you have to, and Ellen Parker eventually edited out 10 seconds out of this sex scene to get it down to an R rating. I haven't watched it, but apparently it is, you can find this online somewhere. The unedited version with the extra 10 seconds. I don't know what's in it. That could be any worse than what we already see.
Yeah. I think I just get a little uncomfortable with the history of it and how it's sort of like where its places in the annals of history, that it's sort of pornographic, and the whole thing just makes me a little uncomfortable, especially when we get to the end of the movie and it's so convoluted. Like at this point in the film, we're supposed to kind of be on Harry's side, and it just, I don't know. So it does, if it stuck the landing more, I think I'd have less of a problem. Like, I actually love Old Boy. I think Old Boy is a great movie, but I think that's a movie that really knows what it's going for. And I think at the end of this movie, it's just a little too confused.
I hear you. I really hear you on sticking the landing element, because for me, like, I really like the technical stuff. And I think the movie sort of depends on the reveal, even though it's convoluted. It makes you appreciate it and go back and you're like, oh, let me go watch this a second time and look for it. But speaking only for myself, the journey of the character and watching the story unfold, I personally felt kind of a distance from it, and it had that sort of. I mean, I like when film noir works; it really works. This had the trappings of, for me. And he's going to go find this person, but then this person leads him to that person. Then he goes to down south. And it's just like, it was like designed to be confusing, where I wouldn't go as far as to call it a gimmick, because that's a little too cynical, but I just felt the mechanisms. I felt like I was being just kind of plotted along. And then I really liked the reveal, but like the experience of that journey was not my favorite. Last November, when we saw several film noir movies, I was far more entertained by a lot of those personally.
That's a great point about feeling the machinations of the plot. I liked that part better than I liked the ending, but I can totally see what you're saying. It feels a little paint by numbers.
Yeah. I could just feel the pieces, like when he's the doctor, and then he goes and it's kind of edited so you think that the doctor committed suicide in his room, but then he takes the gun and it's like, wait a minute, they're doing something here.
This was my issue with the film as well, because I felt like I was being led, very muthe dragged along this plot very obviously, and I loved the atmosphere, and I thought the performances were really good in this, but it was so contrived, and I felt like I was just being, all right, you're being dragged along from set piece to set piece to set piece. But I was having a really good time.
Me too. Beautiful set pieces.
Yes, exactly. Like great set piece.
I really
pieces, the acting and like all that stuff was really helped.
Yeah.
It helped smooth over the like if the mechanisms was like a bit of a feeling of stale bread, all the other aspects of the movie was like really, really good, like peanut butter and jelly, where you're like, okay, this is going to be a good sandwich.
And there's another element to this. Like we could argue a little bit if this is a horror movie, if this is really a film noir, but there is one part of this that really kind of, I think, cinches it for me to give me the heebie-jeebies, and that is the soundtrack to this. You know, Trevor Jones wrote the score for this, and the soundtrack has, first of all, some wonderful like Southern blues and jazz fusion.
Yeah,
and it's really funny. The very beginning, you know, it's an '80s movie because we got a sexy sax to start off the film, but intertwined with Trevor Jones, you know, brooding atmospheric score, it has this dreamlike quality that adds the horror element to this film, you know, because the imagery in the story itself is very classic noir, but the score gives us this heightened tension and psychological horror vibe throughout the movie. And that combination is what is keeping me kind of like at the edge of my seat, that gives me the horror vibes that I'm looking for in this.
I hear that. I gotta give a quick shout out to Trevor Jones too, because I love his music. He composed the co-directed Jim Henson and Frank Oz, the Dark Crystal. That soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks. Like I've played that in my car. So when I saw his name on this movie, I didn't know that, and I was immediately like excited. He did another great movie. He's done a lot, and I can't remember some of them.
Sam, this guy did Excalibur,
Excalibur. That's what I meant.
Time Bandits, The Dark Crystal, and Labyrinth. All right,
and Labyrinth. Yeah, incredible. Yeah,
and for one of my favorites, Dark City, Arachnophobia. So this guy is a god to me.
And for my 2 cents, Excalibur, in my opinion, is the best Arthurian movie out there.
It's a great one.
It's just so good.
We should do a watch. I think not only the soundtrack, I think there's a lot of things in this that lean horror for me. Yes, it's neo-noir, but the way it uses this imagery is very horror. The flashbacks, the sudden cuts, the boy tap dancing, the way it uses these sort of big Southern set pieces to feel like haunted houses and very small, claustrophobic, close quarters. It's edited like a horror movie, but it has the machinations of that gumshoe detective noir.
The scariest thing in this, you guys, is not something that's really a big major mystery, is the woman in black.
Oh, and I love the woman in black.
Every time she shows up, I get goosebumps.
Yeah,
like we're in the Conjuring universe.
God!
Yeah. It's almost Lynchian. These like pops of surrealism.
I think just honestly the scariest thing for me, and I know it's like I'm talking about like the tail end, but when he's like at the very, very end, the elevator descent into hell after the credits. When he's at the bottom and the elevator door opens, and it almost looks like a visual effects where he becomes like a flat, completely like jet black silhouette, blacker than the dark blackness of, and he becomes still. That actually gave me the actual legitimate creeps, because I felt like I was on the threshold of hell. Like I was actually going to hell, and I was seeing it down there, and I don't know, that was pure nightmare fuel for me. Like that really, I'm so glad you said, Nathan, you left me a note saying, you know, make sure you watch to the end credits.
Yes.
I might have missed that, because when I watched it on streaming, it just cuts out of the credits. Like, give us a rating. And I was like, nope, I got to see the credits. And I'm so glad I did, because that was the scariest shot in the whole film.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, scary.
We didn't talk enough about Charlotte Rampling.
Charlotte Rampling, by the way, 1980s, what a fox she was in the 80s.
Abraham Lincoln.
I know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I forgot she was in this. She was in this. She was probably around 40 or so when she made this movie. And like,
yeah,
everything was Charlotte Rampling. ever being like under like 65. And like, I forgot she existed before then, but
Yeah, she
it was
did.
wonderful seeing her. Yeah.
Yeah, she was great. And that's just, sort of what you're talking about, Sam. Like she's sort of a means to an end with the plot, it feels like, even though she's so important, a Johnny favorite story. We spend so little time with her, but the time we get is cool. Like it's just that 50s, like cool,
It's that 50s cool, and it's really good. And like that's where there's those moments like that pop up. I just get a sense with the screenwriting. It's like they've got this. If they had this movie on a whiteboard on the wall, they had the great reveal at the end. They got the opening, and I just felt there were some filler scenes. You're like, oh, we can fill some. Let's go out. We're gonna get some beautiful sunset shots. Let's get a second unit filming the cars. Well, I could just feel a little bit of story padding at times. You know what I mean? But like. Yeah. The atmosphere was amazing.
The couple at the beach, which I thought was so fun. I loved meeting them. I have no idea why we did, but I was
up with that guy saying that he ate the heads off rats. Like, what the hell was that all about? Like,
it's a little Lynchian. Like, it just wanted to be a little Lynchian.
When I heard that line, I was like, "You disgusting bastard!"
I want to talk just a little bit about that final confrontation with, I forget his name, but I just call him like Kruzmark's dad, Charlotte Rampling's dad, because this is kind of where I really am having a good time with this movie. But first of all, biggest vat of gumbo I've ever seen. It's like
into it.
But here's the thing, and I want to get your take on this as well. But up to this point, all the clues in this movie are revealed to us. I don't know what I want to say in real time, but it's through Harry's detective work, I guess, as you say. His investigation is leading us to them. But all of a sudden, at the end of this movie, they decide to sew everything up together in this gigantic exposition dump. And it's a great bonkers scene where Kruzmark's dad is telling him all of this, and we're putting all the pieces together. But I feel like it's really being unfaithful to the movie also, because it's like, well, we're at the end of the movie. Let's just like sew it all together. Here you go. It's a ton of dialogue and information. Yeah. And a lot of the information, I feel like I've already kind of like pieced this together at this point, and I would have enjoyed it more if this came together more organically through his investigation of a more aha moment, show, not tell, because this movie is not being particularly subtle in concealing its secrets already. So I think this is very weak storytelling, even
I agree. It comes across as an exposition dump, basically. Yeah. And even though it's good, it's important information for the story, I'm literally only repeating exactly what you just said. But if that had been organically weaved in, that would have improved some earlier scenes where those reveals could have been subtler and weaved in. It feels like they could have done another draft on the script, to be quite honest.
And that even carries back to like going back to Kruzmark's house to find the dog tags. We know what he's going to find. I actually didn't need to see it because we already know what he's going to find. It was like, well, we're just wasting 2 minutes, because I rather have had him find it and like, find that moment. Why we were told it and then we find,
The ending is so rushed, and it feels rushed compared to this languid, Southern, hot, pace of the rest of the movie, which I like. I'm not saying I don't know if it's that we should speed up the rest of the movie to make the ending feel like they're just two different paces. And I don't know if we just make the ending less convoluted and pick one, either he's possessed or there's Harry Angel, or pick a thing. And then it matches the rest of the pace of the movie.
Exactly. And not to be nitpicky, but I love the elevator descent into hell so much that didn't have to be after the end of the credits. They could have had that end and then just go to the credits. That was such gold to me. Yeah. That some people would have left the theater and missed that, And
then you have like Robert De Niro, like, so you figured out my plan.
He's like, what do you think of my special appearance in this movie?
Oh my gosh. He's having the best time.
He's loving it. He loves it. Not only is he having the best time, but He loved it. I loved it. And I'm being cynical, but humorous. Like, because he doesn't have a lot of screen time, this like gig for him, he gets to show up, he gets to play the devil. He's like sitting around being creepy at like not long hours. Like, what a blast. Like, what a fun shoot for Robert, you know?
Oh man. So basically if you're going to reveal, really the main problem is the main twist to this movie, I feel like was foreshadowed early on. Mm-hmm. We didn't have all the pieces together, but if you're going to reveal your big twist at the start of the film, you need to do two things well, and that is tell a compelling story and have an ace up your sleeve. And that is something surprising, that catches us off guard. And I believe this movie achieves one of these two goals. I think it does tell a really good story, but it has no but no last minute, this is the real ending.
It's not cathartic at all. It's just confusing.
I think they could have toned down the foreshadowing at the beginning and just gone a bit more straight up, neo-noir, and then slowly dipped it in organically because it kind of comes on with a thud at certain points for me.
His name was Louis Cypher. Is he foreign?
Louis Cypher. Lucifer. Oh, you're bad news. You're bad news. Mark Wahlberg. You better. I pray that you leave my house. You're not welcome here. When I wake up at 4:00 in the morning and I lift weights, I pray with God. Devil, get out of my house.
You make me want to bring back our Wahlberging segment.
Oh, I never left. I'm always here. I support the podcast.
Petition to make Mark Wahlberg Harry Angel in the remake. Did you hear there was supposedly a remake that was going to come out? They were thinking a few years ago. They were thinking, I would love to see a remake of this movie.
I wouldn't mind a remake, but I think the danger would be, I would be worried that they would get into this kind of CGI sort of hellscape. Like they might overdo the visuals. And I actually kind of like the less is more in camera, like that shadowy elevator shaft, even though that was obviously a real building somewhere. I thought that was scarier than, some CGI, wormhole tunnel where he's sinking. You don't want it to look like a Marvel movie or something.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anything else you want to say before we take a break, or we feel good?
I feel good.
I want to say one thing before we take a break, because this is one funny, scary thing, not scary, but something that made me really queasy. And this is kind of amusing to me. The most horrifying, uncomfortable thing in this whole movie for me was when Mickey Rourke fell into a giant bin of live crawfish and they're all over him. But but here's the thing. That man is committed, because very few actors would do that. I would not do that for a movie.
No. Oh, I do want to say that I love that we had a little Indiana Jones parallel where he hates chickens, and all I could think of was Indian snakes. Man. And I was just not a snakes guy.
That was but that was so odd. I mean, I know it's trying to tie into the voodoo. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of chickens that are getting torn apart and ripped apart.
Well, an egg is the soul, there's
they do. He does say he doesn't like they milk that a lot. He's like, I don't like chickens. And later on he's like, chickens are weird. I hate chickens.
And then he's running through a chicken coop and he's scared by them.
Yeah. Sees the chicken foot in the bathroom. Do you guys have a favorite death? Mine is the gumbo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's so over the top.
Yeah,
I think so.
And it was super fun.
So want to say there's I don't like to always steal other people's theories from YouTube, but I did read one thing which is pretty cool. I did watch a video on YouTube, and the theory is, it's not really theory, but there's a connection that Harry, obviously killed all the people. We know this, or Lucifer helped him in this. But if you notice and you watch how this happened, Harry touches the weapon of every single touches the weapon. No, I'm trying to phrase this right. The weapon that kills everybody in this movie, he touches beforehand.
Oh, yeah. Like he throws the crab in the gumbo and
He touches the gun that kills Fowler. He touches the blade that
for Charlotte Rampling.
Exactly. And there's a scene of him picking it up beforehand or putting it down. So everything that happens after that is in the conversations are a delusion in his head.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. Although the only one that doesn't really meet up with that theory is Lisa Bonet potentially. She dies in a very gross way too, but we don't see it.
Pretty insane.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. Nathan here. Just wanted to share a very, very special announcement with you. We are turning 100. Yes, our 100th episode is coming. We're calling it the Back to the Frame Rate 100th episode spectacular. On January 10th, 2025, we are hosting a live event. It includes a film screening of one of the great sci-fi comedy classics, Galaxy Quest, and then it's going to be followed with a live podcast recording of our show. Myself, Sam B, and some special guests are going to be in attendance with a live studio audience. We want you to be there joining us at this event. It's a free event. It's going to be at the Weston Art and Innovation Center at 356 Boston Post Road in Weston, Mass. There's going to be free snacks, popcorn, candy, water. We want you to participate with us. Be part of this special episode. Let's take a break on that note. So thanks everybody who is tuned into our podcast. If you like your herring, yes, herring. I thought about fish when I said that. I don't know why.
Red herring, brr. Sam Cole.
If you like what you're hearing, we would like it. Oh my God, I cannot talk tonight. If you like what you're hearing, it would mean the world to us. If you would please hit that subscribe button. That way you get a brand new episode in your feed each and every week. More importantly, we don't have funds for paid advertising for the show. So we count on the friends of the show to help us. And you can do so by telling the people you know about our podcast. Word of mouth is the most powerful way to spread the word about something you love. And you can do so by simply sharing our episodes on your social media feed. You can find us online at backtotheframerate.com and follow us on social media with the handle Back to the Frame Rate on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, where we love to engage with our audience. Finally, we'd also be extremely grateful if you left us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you, everyone, for your continued support.
Are you afraid?
Yeah, I'm afraid.
I'll instruct my lawyer immediately to send you a check for $5,000. If you don't want the job, I'll engage someone else.
$5,000?
$5,000.
You must want this Johnny pretty bad, huh?
I don't like messy accounts. You know, some religions think that the egg is the symbol of the soul. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Would you like an egg?
No, thank you. I got a thing about chickens.
Okay, it's time to get to our decision on whether Angel Heart is going to be saved or purged into the fiery apocalypse. How fitting. So, who do we say was going to go first on here?
It's you, bud.
It's me.
It's all you.
Always me. I feel like I go first all the time now. All right. So our final thoughts on this. We're all going to share our final thoughts. So this is a case where I think we've got a film that in many ways, it really is a perfect potion of style, atmosphere, music.
Yeah.
Really, really solid performance from Mickey Rourke. And I think Lisa Bonet as well. I think she's really good in this.
She's a star in this movie.
And it's too bad she didn't get a bigger acting career, I think, movie career.
Yes. She's doing so much in this movie.
The tone of this movie feels urgent and dangerous from start to finish, and it's dripping with blood and sweat. The score I already talked about and the soundtrack, I think, also bring this movie to life, because otherwise I don't believe this film is nearly as scary as it would be without Trevor Jones' atmospheric score. It creates the tension that kept me on the edge of my seat. As we said earlier, I don't think this is really a neo-noir with some psychological horror elements more than a Gothic horror film, I feel, but it does incorporate some of that atmosphere. I really enjoyed the journey that we're taking on, the setting of the period being in post-World War II, 1950s New York City to New Orleans, and the contrast of those worlds. It feels really lived in with these locations. However, I think we've talked about, I think this movie could have had the potential of being truly a masterpiece if only it trusted its audience to be even remotely of average intelligence, because every single clue, every single part of the big reveal is foreshadowed in the most broad paintbrush. And that's kind of a shame. I had a good time watching this movie for this experience of seeing Mickey Rourke and Lisa Bonet give what I think is some stellar performances. And it was a wild ride, but it definitely loses points for some really lazy storytelling in the way that this movie wraps up. I'm giving this movie a 3.5. And as far as putting in our vault, I'm going to put it in the context of some of our other 80s neo-noir that we looked at last year, because I think that's the closest I can compare it to. If I were to stack this up against some of those where I think it's kind of in the middle of the pack, which I guess it doesn't really cut it when I know I enjoyed films like Body Heat and American Gigolo more than this. So my vote is just slightly doesn't make the cut. So I'm going to say no. I think it lacks a few ingredients. Because of that, there are better neo-noirs out there, and there's better Gothic horror films. So that is that's my review. All right, Sam, your turn.
My review is literally almost verbatim of yours.
I'll just cut and paste it then, Sam.
Yeah. I will say really briefly, I would give it a very solid 3. I enjoyed it. I think you guys maybe were more entertained than I was. And even though I was less entertained, I certainly respect this movie. I think there's some terrifying imagery. I love the descent into hell, and I will always remember it. I too would not put it into the vault just because, like you were just saying, I've seen better Gothic horror films. I've seen better neo-noir films. And I think it's just the way the reveal is kind of ham-fisted a little bit in that expository dialogue, and the fact that it's not subtly woven into the story. This movie is so close. It's like if there was the tip of a mountain peak that was on a masterpiece level, this is like on a lower slope that's looking up towards the peak, but it's still on the same mountain. But because of the other movies that we've seen in the genre that surround it, and because also I am, let's face it, the most generous vault giver ever, I have to say no this time because it's what I organically feel in my soul.
Wow.
So I have to swear I got to be no on the vault.
Wow,
Mic
Sam.
Drop.
Well, you guys are crazy. 5 stars definitely involved. No, we're all on the same page. I did really enjoy watching this, but its faults were so glaring that I can tell if I was not in the right mindset, or it wouldn't have hit me in the same way. It's really beautiful to look at. The performances are so much fun. Like I said, I relish watching De Niro and Rourke kind of out New York each other at certain points. It's so atmospheric. I would definitely watch it again. I don't think the shoddy storytelling or reveal are a reason not to revisit this and have fun with the way it chews at the scenery. But I don't think that makes a great movie all the time. And this is I think, perfect example of just because I like a movie or just because I have a favorite doesn't mean I think it's a very good movie. I'm with you, Sam. This is a 3 all the way for me, and it's a no for The Vault.
Well, B, you won't be watching it again.
Womp womp.
We should add the Jeff Goldblum Jurassic Park laugh. And he goes, how, how, how.
Oh my God, he does laugh like that. That was good.
Yeah. I think he's in the helicopter when they're approaching Jurassic Park. He gives this laugh that I just love. Yeah.
I just learned that my partner has never seen The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. So gonna have to, I'm excited.
Oh, wow.
I'm excited to introduce him.
Cool.
Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
Nope.
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
All right. We are going to transition to our movie pairings section of the show where we recommend a movie to pair with our featured review this week, Angel Heart. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Because I'm looking at our what we have here, and I have a little side eye with you guys. But no, these are good. These are really good movies that are here. So, because I'm going to go last, Sam, you're going to go first with your pick this week.
I say the one that came to mind immediately, it has to be Jacob's Ladder. And because one, I think Jacob's Ladder is a better film.
It's so much better.
Like infinitely better. One, the reveal in Jacob's Ladder when I saw it was shocking. I was shocked. And I think that movie's a masterpiece. And I won't if you haven't seen it, go see it, because I actually don't want to give it away here. But I will say it is one of the heaviest movies I have ever seen. It is so heavy and so intense and so incredible that I was just like stunned like a deer in headlights at the end of that film. That you talk about a reveal, that reveal is unbelievable.
Textbook.
So, yeah, just like, wow. So yes. That came to mind immediately because it's just a movie that does a similar structural thing, but just like nails it. So that's what I would say about that. Yeah.
I love that film. That's a great pick, Sam.
And I love Adrian Lyne. I mean, he did Unfaithful. I love that movie.
Amazing.
Too. I just, oh my God.
Amazing Richard Gere performance.
Yeah.
And I think it's on VOD right now. You can catch it.
It is.
If you're frightened of dying and you're holding on, you'll see devils tearing your life away. But if you've made your peace, then the devils are really angels, freeing you from the earth. It's just a matter of how you look at it, that's all. So don't worry, okay? Okay? Good.
Sam, I think you're so right that that's also my pick.
Yeah.
I watched Jacob's Ladder a couple weeks ago just by happenstance. I had never seen Angel Heart, and I just happened to be popping it on. It's a perfect movie. It's so good, and it's really nailing what this movie's trying to do. But more importantly, it's a great double feature as the ascending, descending duo that they are. So if you want two movies that approach a similar philosophical problem, but come out with very different approaches, and I think different perspectives on it in the end too, this can be a really fun's the wrong word, but at least a really interesting double feature and definitely worth your time.
Fun isn't what comes to mind, but
here's a question, Sam. Which one would you watch first?
I honestly, I would watch Angel Heart first because Jacob's Ladder is such a intense mic drop that like I don't know how you can go on with the evening after that. Like what more is there to do? You're just like, Jesus. You know? I can see the argument for like going with the heavier, more intense.
Well, that's
and then
kind of why
having,
I would
like,
do it the other way.
They kind of end in opposite ways.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So I might end with Jacob's Ladder because at least that final shot, I kind of feel like there's is more cathartic ending to it in some ways. He kind of, I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen the end of Jacob's Ladder. It's intense, but at least it's the character finds something that he's looking for at the end. I feel like.
Yeah, Jacob's Ladder. That was my first choice. Can I give us a backup choice? Can I do that?
You can. I want to say, by the way, Jacob's Ladder, a movie that now all three of us have recommended.
Came pretty close. I think Devil's Advocate would also be a very good double feature.
That movie's fun. Yeah, I like
that's
that.
Just a rip roaring good time. Yeah.
All right, very good. So much darkness on this show,
Nathan. What do you have teed up for us, sir?
Well, all this doom and gloom and Gothic horror, and after watching Angel Heart, I felt there was a lot of cruelty towards chickens going on in my life this week. This was compounded by the fact that we went to a very fine Indian dining establishment and I ordered one of my favorite dishes, chicken sag, earlier this week. So
delicious.
I felt it was necessary for someone to stand up for chickens.
What have you done?
If not me, then who?
Did you put Chicken Run?
Yes. Chicken Run, glorious stop motion animated film from Aardman Animation, directors Nick Park, Peter Lorre. Chicken Run is a comedy, a parody in many ways. It parodies the films of Great Escape, but also almost a Stalag 17, Escape from Alcatraz, a little bit of Braveheart's in there too. Stars a bunch of chickens who are locked up as prisoners of war in a style camp run by the evil Miss Tweety, who has this very nefarious plans for her flock of chickens. This film is incredibly funny with some great one-liners. It's got amazing animation. Like I said, it's stop motion. It's just jaw-dropping, the creativity that was put into the elaborate sets with dozens of chickens running around, moving in this animation style. It's one of the wonderful films that's perfect for parents to watch with the kids from ages probably like 4 to 10 or even older, because the jokes work on multiple levels. And I know pairing with Angel Heart seems odd, but after a brutal descent into hell, why not wing it and have a good laugh with some foul play?
Chicken pies?
Yes, but I don't want to be a pie. I don't like gravy.
The reason why I get joy out of this is because I can see your face like conceiving this choice in your office when you're like, oh, I'm gonna throw this curveball in there, and like that's brilliant.
I think Chicken
Run's on Netflix.
It's a great movie too. It's just a really fun movie. I think the animation style is incredible. Yeah. I'm down.
All right. Chicken Run and Angel Heart. Perfect double feature.
Perfect double feature. Which one would you watch first?
Oh, I'd watch Angel Heart first because I need a laugh after that.
Yeah,
you gotta have that. You gotta have the
Okay.
lift. You gotta come out of hell and go back up and enjoy the chickens.
All right. I wasn't sure if like the kids were awake, so you'd watch Chicken Run first.
I'd wake them up. We're gonna start with kids. We're watching Angel Heart, and then after that, you can watch Chicken Run as a reward.
Good.
Yeah.
Man, talk about a film that is like so not designed for children. Like Angel Heart, like no kid can watch that. Like no way.
If a kid watches that, he's immediately allowed to buy a pack of cigarettes. Like,
it's like no way. Yeah.
So we need to talk about the smoking in that movie.
Everybody's smoking inside like a grown up.
I just like its fetish with like ballpoint pens and like the close up. These like ballpoint pens weren't around in 1943. I was like, I feel it.
I love that investigative moment. Like
that was so good.
Yeah. All right, those are our picks for movie pairings, let us know what you think. Or if you have a better one. I can't imagine that being possible. Mm-hmm. Let's transition to our weekly highlight. All right.
Awesome. What a week.
What a week. Who would like to begin with this? Sam,
I'll go. I never go first. So I'll get this out of the way briefly because honestly, it's been a very busy week. I really did not get a chance to see any movies, unfortunately. But I will say briefly that because I had this past weekend free, I had a moment of time to escape. I went up to San Francisco and I saw Fleet Week, which is this incredible air show of planes. There's these group called the Blue Angels, and it is like the most spectacular air show I have ever seen. The stunts
I love the Blue Angels.
They're incredible. The stunts are in 7. They are insane. They even had like a 777 flown by United that like careens down toward the Golden Gate Bridge and then like misses it at the last minute. I did it because I went up there. I incorporated. I was filming a Walks of World episode for my YouTube channel, and then I was just banking future episodes. I also walked in Golden Gate Park, which is a huge, stunningly beautiful park. It's not this one big wide open field. It's like all these different valleys and different areas and woodlands and trails. It's really long. It's big, a gorgeous location. The only media that I did see, which is hilarious, that I almost hesitate to even mention, but on my long drive back to LA, I listened to Red Letter Media, and they were reviewing the Puppet Master series. I've never seen any of those films, but I just enjoyed listening to them talk about it. And it's a part 1 video, and they reviewed the first 3 films. And they're direct to video, incredibly cheesy, but it was just fascinating, entertaining that. I would love to have seen some films this week, very busy week, but that is the extent of my like entertainment factor this past week.
You were filming, right?
Filming.
That's right.
Woo,
I get at the verb.
Woo!
That's awesome.
That was a better woo. I should have had that woo at the beginning. I'm sorry.
Yeah, where were you in the beginning?
Guys, I let you down, and the regret in my heart is I'm just going to try one day at a time. I'm just going to have to get through it.
You're subjected to Puppet Master now. I had a pretty good week in movies. So I don't know that I've really kept up with Hooptober in a way that is holding any kind of integrity, but I am trying to stick to a spooky season. And it's been fun. I've done a lot of good practical effects movies. So I did An American Werewolf in London.
Yes.
God, that's so good.
I love that movie.
Oh, it was great.
Not to interrupt, I'll just say briefly, one thing I love about that movie is I love that movie does not try to, I won't give away everything. Like, it does not try to have a plot twist. Like, he gets bitten and he becomes a werewolf, and that's his
That's
face,
the movie.
and that's it. And it doesn't say like, oh no, there's redemption. We're going to get out of this. It's like, no, you got bit. You are totally effed. Entertainment.
They tell him to die through the whole movie.
Then out.
then he's out.
And it ends so like that. The rampage at the end of that movie is so spectacular.
It's awesome.
Love that movie. God,
it's an awesome. Criterion has a great series right now on horror effects, and it's really fun. But it's in that one, so if you have Criterion, you should watch it.
Did you ever see the Paris one, the second one?
Yes, I have.
It's kind of strange, but I was kind of bizarrely entertained. But it's like nowhere near as good. But I kind of enjoyed it. Like,
I like them.
I think for its own thing,
Yeah, it's been a good spooky season. I didn't see you guys last week, so I'll give you just a quick rundown. I've done some Roger Corman. I did The Mask of Red Death and A Bucket of Blood, so that's been really fun. The Wicker Man, that was part of the original Wicker Man, which I always want to be a little spookier. But then I did think about our Gothic Horror, and I watched some Sleepy Hollow,
glorious,
which is another just really fun one, and Lisa Frankenstein. Has been, which is a newer one, which was kind of a horror comedy, and just made me want to watch Heathers and The Craft. So I did.
I got to get more on the on the Gothic train, like for this podcast, obviously, but I have not been fulfilling my Halloween. I managed 20 minutes of Hocus Pocus on AMC before falling asleep.
And that is not acceptable.
I love it. I need to see more. I want to see a couple of Jason Voorhees. Like, I love the sequels where they're just totally mindless and you watch it because it's just for his creative, bizarre kills, and the characters are like nobodies, but those movies are so much fun. Like
7 and 8 are some of my favorite Jason movies too. Like Jason Takes Manhattan, and then there's like The Exorcist. Jason, yeah, it's a good time.
Jason Takes Manhattan wastes so much time on a boat. That's why I love it. But
it's one of the wettest horror movies you're gonna see. Anyway, Nathan, what did you watch this week?
I didn't really see. I mean, we talked about Joker 2 Folie à Deux already, but there wasn't that much. I'm not going to really get into it, but I did see The Love Witch, which is a movie from 2016.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah, I have some mixed thoughts on it, but I'm not really going to talk about that. But what I am excited to mention is that I finally completed my journey through the entire Robert Altman filmography.
You did it!
Wow.
I did it.
Woo!
And
awesome.
I've done quite a few times in my life. I've gone through a director's entire output, but never one as large as Altman's. And it took me
some time.
Full year, 36 films. There were a couple TV movies that he did that I didn't track down, but I did every single feature length film, 36 of them. And I chose Robert Altman, because I've always been fascinated by a director such as him. He had such a very storied career. It lasted decades. I also, many of his movies I've never seen before. I saw a lot of the Touchstone movies, but so many I never saw. He also had so many phases of his career that are just easily marked. The 70s, how he exploded onto the scene with MASH, and he had a slow kind of like trickling out phase with the studios until he kind of like went into obscurity by the end of the decade. And then he makes kind of a giant splash in the beginning of the 80s with Popeye, a film that I personally cannot stand, but it's such an outlier in his filmography. It was a failure, but it set him up for a decade of very low budget projects, but some very creative and interesting films. And then the 90s, he makes this miraculous comeback and successful commercial and critical comeback with The Player and Shortcuts. And honestly, outside of just a few of the films, I thought the 90s were maybe his most consistent decade. Then the 2000s, you could tell he was really telling stories that were close to his heart. And it was an incredible career, and you really can't compare it to any other director. I can't say I loved all of his movies. In fact, many of them I had a really strong aversion to, and none of them I really hold in regard as the greatest films ever made either. I think there's some really good ones in there, but none of them I feel like would be even in my top 100 movies of all time. But the diversity of the stories is incredible. And I'm guessing no matter what directors I take on next in this, it'll never be quite as eclectic as Altman. So what I have here next is I on my Letterboxd, you can go and see my entire ranking of all 36 movies. But
nice.
I'm going to mention my top 10 here. So I'll share that with you here. So, and this is going to be maybe not the most popular top 10 because I have some interesting tastes maybe. And some of the movies in my top 10, like, why do they put that there? Why are the big movies that you'd expect are not here? Just because I didn't really connect with me the way you would expect. But number 10 is Kansas City from 1996. Movie I never saw before. I thought was pretty good.
Never seen it.
Three Women, I think, is from 1977. Good. I never saw before. I enjoyed it pretty well.
I like that one too.
California Split, huge surprise for me. I liked it a lot. Elliot Gould and was in that, so I love that movie. This is a surprising one. The Delinquents, which was his very first movie. I don't know why I ranked this so high, but I was looking at my Letterboxd score. It's pretty high up there. And this is really almost like an industrial movie, but I thought it was so fascinating the way he did this. And yeah, I have that as 10, 9, 8, 7. That's my number seventh movie. Cookie's Fortune was 1999. That's number 6. Number 5 was MASH, which is probably the only one from like the way back years which cracked the top 5.
I love MASH. Yeah.
This one surprised me because this is a movie that most people think is one of his worst, but I actually liked it because I like the whole we were talking about tonight, the whole like Southern Gothic film noir, The Gingerbread Man with Kenneth Branagh. A lot of people think this is trash, but I like Gothic trash, and this movie is a fun mystery film noir. So
Kenneth Branagh, man, what a weird career too.
Yeah. Number 3 was his last movie, A Prairie Home Companion. I thought it was so personal that I actually cried at the end of this because there's so much about life and death in the storytelling embedded in the text of this movie. And it's like, this is a man who knows he's at the end making this movie. So it is a powerful film. Number 2, these last 2 might not be any surprise because I think I raved about this one back when I saw it. Shortcuts. Was I thought incredible. And number 1 is The Player still, which is the first Altman movie I ever saw, and it's still my favorite film. So yeah.
Out of curiosity, and I love asking people this, what would you say of all the 36 Robert Altman films you saw, what was your least favorite? Like the one that you like of all of these movies, this one is at the bottom of your list.
Well, I already said it, Popeye. But if I had,
okay, that's right, yeah.
But if there is one other one which universally has been panned and I really hated, and that is Beyond Therapy. It came out in 1987. The movie is kind of homophobic. It is poorly made. It is not funny. You can check it out. It is Jeff Goldblum is in it, and it's Jeff Goldblum in all his idiosyncratic like tendencies that just drive. It's like nails in a chalkboard, and it's a really hard watch.
Interesting.
Wow. There are a couple films that are just hard to get through in his filmography. His second to last movie was a movie called The Company with James Franco, and I'm blanking on her name. Who's the girl from Neve Campbell? Which it was a 2-hour movie, and I feel like 80 minutes of it was just ballet performances.
Would you put like Gosford Park towards the upper half or the lower half?
That's in the upper half.
Cool.
That would probably be in the top 15.
I'm surprised not to see The Long Goodbye a little.
That would probably 12 or so.
36 films. I didn't realize how prolific he was. That's a lot of movies. Like I knew he made a lot, but I never knew the exact. Like that is a prolific.
That's a career.
Yeah. It's so there you go. That's my that's all I have to say about this week because I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next. And I don't know. All I know is that it's not going to be a director with 36 movies. I'm looking
Want to do Coen Brothers with me?
Well, here's the thing. I do have criteria for this. I'm looking at directors that are not putting out new movies, so they're no longer with us. That is the one thing I'm doing, and I want it to be directors that don't have the largest filmography right now. And I've whittled it down to 5 right now. And you can give me your opinion on this, and maybe the audience can tell me what they think. I'm looking at Orson Welles, who has 16 movies. I'm looking at Preston Sturges, who has 12 films.
Oh, more fun.
I'm looking at Alejandro Jodorowsky, who has 9 movies. And also I'm looking at filmmakers that I have not seen most of the body of their work as well. And I'm looking at Michelangelo Antonioni, who's done 14. And one that you just recently did in the past year, David Lean, who has 10 movies. So I want somebody that I could probably knock out in less than like 5
year
months or so, or 6 months or so.
I'd be fascinated to do David Lean, one of my favorite filmmakers, and I might just do the list for completion. I think I've seen a lot of his movies already, but there's probably 3 or 4. I'm a huge Peter Weir fan.
Yes.
Like, I just love his movies, and I've seen a lot. Like I loved, I think it was 1977 it came out, The Wave. That movie is just awesome. Like I just like his sensibility because I don't know. I think because like you guys have inspired me to do this, I want to get my feet wet, but like ease in, and Peter Weir for me would be a nice start because
Have you seen The Cars That Eat People?
No, I have not.
That's one I did for our Mad Max retrospective.
That's right.
When we did that, and that was really fun. But David Lean was really a great one. Antonioni is, you can really see those phases in his career. Like we talked about, I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a lot of his movies through those different phases.
I haven't even seen Passage to India. I've never seen that before.
Oh, yeah.
And like he did that, and I've heard interesting things about it. Like, I mean,
Yep.
Well, maybe by next week I'll announce.
You've got just lots of good options there.
I got some other, so I'm limiting it to directors no longer with us that I haven't seen most of the body of their work, and there might be some few in there, but that's my short list right now.
Preston's a good call too, though.
Yeah, he's got a really his first like 8 films are like masterpieces.
Yeah. That's
so. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, the Lady Eve. Come on.
That one I have seen, and that is kind of inspired me to like get into the rest of it. I actually saw that about a month ago, and I'm like, I gotta see all of his.
Yeah. Classic. Although it might feel a little, I don't know. You just did Robert Altman, so Hollywood might feel a little.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm trying to like get away from switch it up with another, different type of filmmaker. I think we have done it all tonight.
Woo!
So maybe we can wrap it up. Next week, though, we have one more film in our Gothic Horror retrospective.
B's pick.
What's your pick, B? Tell us about it.
Go watch it. It's Crimson Peak, Guillermo del Toro. It's good. It's a good movie.
2015. Have you all seen this? I saw this probably a year after it came out.
I have not seen it. I don't think I've seen it. Yeah.
It's cool. This whole series, there's movies where one of us hasn't seen it at least. So
awesome.
This will be fun.
This Rocktober is rockin' radical, guys. This, and stay away from the devil. Pray, work out in the morning, and try your best. Just keep at it.
Just try your best.
Try your best. All right. Well, I think I forget where. Anyone check quickly where Crimson Peak might be streaming? If it is,
I can. I got it. You can watch Crimson Peak. Ooh, it's on Prime, or you can rent it on Apple.
Great. Woo. Okay. Well, that's all. And finally, before we just one more reminder, please check out our show notes for the links and information about our live show on January 10th, 2025, our 100th episode extravaganza. Woo. More on that to come. Check our feed. That is the show this week. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. We wish to thank Brian Ellsworth for our show opening. On behalf of all of us, we bid you farewell from the Fallout Shelter. Your presence in our underground sanctuary is truly appreciated. We are sorry you cannot join us, but we want to express our gratitude for your company. If you're finding solace in our discussions, we kindly ask that you please subscribe and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whichever portal connects you to our broadcast. There you can find more episodes of this podcast, and also on our website, backtotheframerate.com, and on our socials with the handle Back to the Frame Rate. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. We're also on LinkedIn, I found out, because I posted our episodes there too.
Cool.
Yeah. Your support is the beacon of light that brightens our confined space. Until we emerge from the fallout, stay with us, keep hope alive, and keep those reviews coming. And share our episodes with your friends. This is the end of our transmission. Back to the Frame Rate, signing off.
I want you to know it's over.
Well.
Bye.